Hi, Kurt. I'm about to go on. I got that. I just told him. Yep. Yeah, okay, good. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, well, welcome everybody for joining us today for the 50th commemoration of Tokitae's capture. We wish we could all be together doing this, but in some ways this is a good thing because we can bring in ceremonies from across the country. So we're really happy to have all of you here and thank you for joining us. So just really quickly before we get started, we're going to go through a couple of just housekeeping items for those of you who aren't as familiar with Zoom. So my name is Cindy Hansen. I'm the education coordinator for Orca Network, and we have our whole Orca Network team here helping out. Right now you are muted and you have no video showing. So if you have background noise going on or your cat is walking across your computer screen, don't worry because we won't see it or hear it. You will have the opportunity to ask questions later, and I'll explain that in a minute. There is a chat box as well that you have access to on the bottom of your screen. So if you click on that, you can chat with the whole group, or you can send messages to just panelists. If you have, technical questions or anything like that, if for some reason the screen isn't showing up properly or the sound isn't working properly, you can just send us a quick chat. And then you can also chat with each other if you want to. Let us know where you're coming from and just any comments that you have. So feel free to use that throughout the webinar. And then once we get to the end, we'll do a Q&A. And what you can do is write your questions in the little Q&A feature. So that is also at the bottom of your screen. So if you click on that, you'll be able to write in any questions you have. Again, we'll do the Q&A at the end of the day, but if you have burning questions that you don't think you'll remember at the end, feel free to write them in at any time, and then we'll get back to those at the end. So I think those are just the housekeeping items that I wanted to go over, and again, want to welcome you all and thank you for joining us. And I am now going to turn it over to Howard Garrett, who is one of the co-founders of Orca Network.
You have to turn my video on. Oh, there we go. Okay. Well, I would like to welcome you too. Thank you for joining us. This is a very special 50th year of Tokitae Skalichaltanat being in captivity in Miami. It's momentous and it's extraordinary that she is still there, still alive, and still doing quite well. And what I want to do before we start the rest of the program is start out by focusing on her as much as possible to give a sense of who she is and how she's managing, how she's able to survive. And as you'll see in a couple of short videos that I have here, seems to be quite healthy and doing well. But I do mean who she is. I think she knows who she is. There's every reason to believe that because she is a member of LPOD. She's a member of her family. She's a member of her community, her culture, her long, long traditions of the Southern resident community, including all of the communications, all of the ways of foraging, everything else that she needs to know. She still has that up here. And I wanted to spell a big popular myth, and that is that she was just a baby when she was captured. A quick look at Orca natural history tells us that they are 17 or 18 months in the womb before they're born, and about half of that time, they're actually able to hear and learn their family's calls, their communications, and everything else, every other sound in the ocean, through that no-loss sound transmission from ocean to womb. And they're born very well advanced, developed after 17 or 18 months, and they begin to use those calls within weeks, certainly within a few months. They are first mimicking and then able to communicate and echolocate and within their first year, they're catching their own fish. She was estimated to be about 4 years old when she was captured, so she had many years of being a full-fledged member of her family and knowing everything that she needs to know. And born with a brain 3 times the size of any of ours, and growing rapidly till now her brain is 5 times the size of ours, and that's a lot of memory capacity. So I don't see any reason to think that she has forgotten much of her life before. And I do believe that is a lot of what keeps her going, is these vivid memories of her life before capture. I'm going to show you a few short videos, and they show her in the tank. They're very recent. The first 2 are from last December 31st. And it brings up a lot of emotions to see her there. Her whole story brings up a lot of emotions because it's just so tragic and so terrible. It makes us angry. It makes us sad. It makes us want to do something. It makes us want to bring her home. And that's what we need to unify, and we are unifying around, is to bring her home. So I'll go ahead and show these videos. And the first one shows how she can relate. I'll give a little bit of narration over the videos. It's only a minute. But let's see, that's this one. There.
Baby.
Are we sharing them? This was taken by a volunteer who remains anonymous, but she wanted everyone to know that she went in not to be entertained at all. It was with a lot of sadness that she went to visit.
Hi, baby. We love
a
you.
dear friend that she loved.
You are beautiful, Lolita.
And she hears it. She responds to that affection.
Love you, honey.
Comes in a little
We all
closer.
love you.
And the announcer starts.
Love you, baby.
She knows the show's
Love
about
you,
to
honey.
begin. And she has to go to work. Did everyone see that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, now I want to show one other, well, 2 others, but first one other video that shows her at work. Is that there? Is it visible?
Yes, yes.
Great. Okay, now you'll see her interact with the trainer, and you'll see the trainer give a very large signal to her. And then you'll see her do something pretty amazing. This shows she has not lost her eyesight, as some say.
Oh boy, she's way too big for that. Poor baby.
Howie, a few people were saying that they were having a hard time hearing you over the video, so I don't know if you want to turn the video down just a little bit when you're talking.
Oh, I didn't, okay, I wasn't sure. Well, in the second video, if you could see that, she did this amazing full breach, completely out of the water, and then she pops up on the other side of the pool. And remember, that pool is not any deeper than she is long, probably not as deep. And she never gets a scratch. She somehow has the precision agility like a gymnast to be able to be at exactly the right place at the right time and not scratch herself up. And in the back, behind the workstation, it's only 12 feet deep. Okay, I'll show another one that shows her after the show. She's watched everybody leave pretty much, and then on her own, you'll see what she does. She works out. She gets her exercise, and there's no trainer in sight. So this is all for her, of her own volition. Let's see, that's this one. And about 20 seconds into it, you'll hear, can you hear me now? About 20 seconds into it, you'll hear the Blackhawk Singers, the traditional Lummi singers. And their power, their voices carrying the power of thousands of years of Lummi culture and history match her power as she swims. There we are. Okay, I would now like to turn it over to Susan Berta, the other co-founder of Orca Network. Susan?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're really heartened to see so many of you joining us on this sad but also amazing day. When we started this 25 years ago, when I first learned about Tokitae, Scully Choctaw, I never thought 25 years later she would still be there swimming and healthy. So we have that to celebrate. There's still time to bring her home. So thanks to to all of you out there as well who've been a part of this decades-long journey to bring her home back to her family in the Salish Sea. It's amazing how many people have helped along the way. But I'd like to start by acknowledging and honoring that we're all living on indigenous land and surrounding waters here in the Salish Sea. The ancestral lands of the Coast Salish here, and no matter where you are, we would like you to honor those who came before, and their generations of knowledge and the wisdom of this land and the waters and this around us, which is much greater than the science and knowledge of we who have been here for such a short time. The salmon and orcas have been here even longer, and we honor the sacred and central role they play in the Salish Sea and in all of our lives. Bringing Toki home has been a decades-long endeavor for us, and we're thankful to be joined by so many other organizations, tribes, and individuals who all understand she belongs back home in the Salish Sea. We've been doing events like this since 1998, along the shores of Penn Cove, where she was captured and taken from her family in 1970. Those events have always been emotional, spirit-filled times where we share our grief about the loss of so many Southern resident orcas to the captures and all that has happened since, and to share the hope we have to bring Toki home. Of course, this year is different, like everything in our lives these days, with in-person events impossible. So we're hoping that we can convey over the airwaves the heartfelt spirit of all who are involved in helping bring Tokitae Scully Choctaw home. And the nice thing about a virtual event is that more can join. We've never had 210 people at our events in Penn Cove. And people from near and far can be a part of this. And we can also share water ceremonies from more than just Penn Cove. So there are the upsides to these pandemic days. One thing I've learned during these 25 years of meeting and working with hundreds of others who hear Toki's story and are called to help is that while we work to heal the harm that has been done to her and work to bring her home, she somehow in turn heals us. We are thankful for the many people we have met along the way because of her, and we hope someday soon we can celebrate, all of us together, her coming home to the Salish Sea and her family who is waiting here. We feel somehow that Toki knows that there are so many of us here working to bring her home. I feel that that has given her the strength and the spirit and the hope to hang on. She's lived so much longer than all other whales in captivity except for Corky from the Northern resident community. So I feel somehow she can feel our intentions and our work to bring her home. And I hope that today she can feel our hearts and our energy and our love and our spirits and our intention to bring her home as we come together to share ceremonies at the water's edge, all with one purpose in mind for Toki and one message to
I'm
her.
sorry, what?
We will bring you home. We will start with a ceremony by Rosie Caillou James and Bill Bailey of the Samish Nation. Rosie and Bill have been joining us for many years to do salmon ceremonies and take part in our annual capture commemorations and much more. And we thank them for sharing again with us this ceremony that was performed yesterday on North Orcas Island and recorded, which we will share here with you. Thanks again for joining us.
Start spacing the berries and the apples. That one's pretty. So what we're doing here is we're doing an offering for Tokitae. and her spirit. Each thing represents a feast that we'll have when we bring Tokitae home. Well, this is your job, to push it out as far as you could go. Each gift on there, no matter where it ends up, if it ends up in a tummy of something living, or it just floats and floats and floats, it's meant to be wherever it lands. It knows its gifts too, from land to sea. Now we can watch that for a little bit and make sure that the tide carries it. And out there you'll notice we're hoping that we have the right spirit that's guiding it out into the lands of Tokitae and her families. This your whole entire waterland belongs to Tokitae and her families. Hello on this beautiful day today, as we come to honor Tokitae in hopes of bringing her home to this here land or waters of her spirit's family. I am Quistania from the Samish Nation, Swinomish tribe, Lummi. I have roots to all the local tribes, and this is my mate, Sultan, who has roots to many tribes as well. We have been working with Howard and Susan for many years because my dad is connected to the Orcas and believes that and we believe so also, that he is an Orca spirit now. He is out there in that water. My dad was there. My dad sat on the beach and watched his family be lifted in those nets. My dad sat on a beach and apologized to his family. He asked them to wait for him, and he passed away. Now they're still waiting for him, but he's helping us. Otherwise, how we're going to get that to go that way? There's a song. It's a message from Tokitae. And the message being, I'm so sad. I would like to come home. I'm halfway there. I feel so much better. I am home, I shall dance. Oh, halfway home, I feel so much better. Whoa, oh, ee, oh, oh, ee, oh, holy, oh, holy. I'm home, I shall dance. That is the message that she has. When she gets home, she will dance with her family. It's been much too long. Where she's at, she can eat when she's hungry. She's got much more than our orcas have here as far as food, but she's not happy. Food doesn't make everybody happy. There's nothing left for her there. It's all right there. Her whole life is right here. That's her home. That's where they reside, in the areas of the land people who care, like Howie and Susan and yourself, your wife. How are we going to get her home if we don't take her by the hand and lead her home? We have to be able to be brave enough to go continue this mission. We love our orcas. My dad was born on Orcas Island. His only friends were the orcas. So this year, I believe, would be Dad's dream come true if we can just bring her home. So we will get her home. Florida will allow her to come home and finish her last days here. That's all we want. We want to reunite her spirit with the spirits of the sea. Haishka.
Just give a second for all of that to travel across the airwaves. Thank you, Rosie and Bill, for that wonderful ceremony. I get goosebumps and hope you are all feeling that too. So for our next ceremony, we will move on to the San Juan Islands, where Toki swam as a young girl for 4 or 5 years, where she traveled up to 100 miles a day with her family, going from island to island, chasing salmon, playing with her cousins and her aunties and her uncles, swimming freely, where we hope she will return. From San Juan Island, we have a ceremony from Jeff and Katie Foster, also working to help bring her back home to her family.
Bring you home.
Thank you so much, Katie and Jeff. That was beautiful. And for those of you who don't know, Scully Choctaw is the name given to who we call Toki by the Lummies in a naming ceremony. We will be posting some videos on our Orca Network Facebook event page, and also we'll make a page on our website. We had a lot of amazing videos and music videos that have been made in a slideshow that we're going to show during the Q&A at the end. But there's so much to share, we couldn't do it all. We thought a 3-hour webinar was a long time, but we'll be posting links to some of these videos, and one of them is the naming ceremony when the Lummies gave Toki her Scully Choctaw name, which was named after a village in Penn Cove, an ancestral native village near the site where Toki was captured. So next we go to Orcas Island, Glenwood Springs, where Jim Youngren has generously offered a place for her to come home for at least a temporary time, either before she can be released or in the event that due to economic conditions or other conditions that she is suddenly released, which we would all love to happen. He has a place for her. So our friends Jeff Schaff and Jenny Gordon, who are filmmakers who live on Orcas as well as in LA, and are working on a beautiful documentary about Tokitae. And that's another, I think I have shared the trailer to their documentary on our event page. But they did this wonderful ceremony yesterday and recorded it. And I'll just give you a hint. While Denny is bringing the wreath to the water, take a look up on the hillside behind her in the woods, because she has someone else joining her. So we will share the ceremony from Glenwood Springs, East Sound, Orcas Island.
Today we reach out to Tokitae, our beautiful sister being who was taken from us 50 years ago. Tokitae, your mother still swims in these waters and calls for your return. Tokitae, for these 50 years you have lived in a small tank, not in these beautiful seas that are your rightful home. Tokitae, know that we are doing everything in our power to bring you back here.
Tokitae, we're here at Glenwood Springs, your future home. The salmon are jumping. We wish you were here. We haven't forgotten you. We're thinking of you, trapped down in Miami, this aquarium. And we want you to be free, and we want you to come home. We hear your mother out there calling to you. We haven't forgotten you, and we're honoring you, and we're always praying that you come home, and we vow to bring you home.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that beautiful blessing and offering. Jeff and Denny are just wonderful people. They hosted an event when the Tokitae totem pole journey happened down in Hollywood. They've brought in a lot of their friends and supporters, and they're just wonderful people, and their hearts are in it. And again, just more of the many, many wonderful people that Toki has brought into our lives, and all of us working together to bring her home. So we are going to next show a beautiful animated video called Perchance To Dream. This is just one of my favorite pieces that just speaks for itself. So we will move on to let you watch and dream along with Toki of her days of coming home. Okay, that is just such a touching video. Every time we see it, it says so much in such a beautiful way. And I hope Toki is still dreaming. I'm sure she's still dreaming of coming home, as we all are. And that's what keeps her going, and that's what keeps us going. Okay, Howard is going to introduce, as we're leading up to our Penn Cove ceremony, which is traditionally where we do our ceremony each year. Howard will introduce our next virtual guest.
Right, coming up is Sandra Pollard, who I haven't seen it actually, but we'll do a short reading, I believe, on the shores of Penn Cove. Well, whatever it is what she did, but I want to mention that she is the author of 2 important books. These may look backwards on your screen, but anyway, Puget Sound Whales for Sale and a Puget Sound Orca in Captivity, which are about the whole capture era. And the second book is about the whole Lolita campaign. So let's go to Sandra's video.
I'm Sandra Pollard, speaking from Whidbey Island, the site of the infamous August 8, 1970 Penn Cove capture, when the whole of the southern resident community, including Lolita, was driven into Penn Cove by the Orca cowboys, Donald Goldsberry and Ted Griffin. Today, half a century later, Lolita remains in lockdown at the Miami Aquarium, while her presumed mother, Ocean's son, now the matriarch of the southern resident population, waits for her daughter to come home. I'll now read from Puget Sound, Whales for Sale, The Fight to End Orca Hunting, which depicts the sad history of the capture era here in Washington state, of which Lolita is the sole survivor. A floating pen was set up to corral and separate the mothers and calves. Piercing, screaming vocalizations rent the air as the trapped whales thrashed and twisted in confusion, fear and panic. It was a sight and sound that would haunt the local residents forever. Longtime resident Lila Snover, who lives on the shoreline of Penn Cove, has never forgotten the incessant cries. She recalls clearly how her children asked, "Why are they crying? They're crying," as the whales' plaintive calls carried across the cove. "It was terrible, just terrible, like a prison camp. It was awful," Lila said, and I think everybody that remembers it will tell you that. It was just one of the most horrible things I've witnessed in my life. Soon about 25 whales were corralled in 2 net pens about 100 yards long and 50 yards wide. 15 in one pen, 10 in the other. Those that remained free stayed outside the nets, about 200 yards away, restlessly patrolling the outskirts of the pen. The capture team had already started pushing some of the large males away through devised breaks in the netting to reduce their selection to the smaller females and calves, 2 to 5 years old, between 11 and 15 feet long. Griffin had orders for half a dozen whales to fulfill. He did not want nursing whales or any less than 10 feet long. On Monday, August 10th, Griffin made his first selection, a young 16-foot female. After successfully lassoing the animal, the constricting rope was tightened around her body. Half a dozen men on the dock dragged and pulled the young female toward divers waiting to maneuver her onto a canvas sling. Overseen by a representative from the Department of Game, she was tied to a skiff and hauled to the old standard oil dock at Sandra Pollard to undergo the usual procedure. The sling was hooked onto a crane, hoisted from the water, suspended in the air, and lowered onto a flatbed truck owned by a landscaper from Oak Harbor, ready for transit to the Seattle Marine Aquarium. The last helpless victim to be taken away to a new life far removed from her family was Lolita, also known as Tokitae, the only surviving southern resident still alive in captivity. Pixie Mailer, a resident of Oak Harbor, recounted, "There was a bunch of us who went down every day, and it's the worst thing that I've ever seen in my life. It should never have happened. The whales cried. We watched them load them, and saw them specifically load a small one in the back of a truck. I think it was probably Lolita, and she cried and cried and cried the whole way. It's a sound you don't forget. You just don't. I'll never forget it." Thank you.
If you haven't read Sandra's books, she has done more research on the captures, as well on all of the efforts to bring Tokitae home, and they are wonderful books. We do sell them at our Langley Whale Center and on our Orca Network web shop. We are telling her she's going to have to write a third about Lolita coming home. So we're hoping that will happen in the next year. Okay, so we will be going next to our first live stream technological challenge. So we appreciate you all bearing with us, doing what is always a live in-person event via recordings and live streaming. But we're very thankful for the Lummi Nation in coming to Penn Cove today to do the Penn Cove water ceremony. Our volunteer Jan Bell, who's made beautiful cedar flower floats for us, has made a beautiful offering. We have Freddie Lane and Kurt Russo has been working on this, and Bonnie Swift, who is working on a podcast about Scully Choctaw, will be filming this for that as well. And we are hoping that the timing is right and that they will be live streaming to our Facebook page, which we then will be sharing right here. So if all the techno gods and goddesses are with us, we will join them at Penn Cove for the Penn Cove water ceremony. Okay, I'm checking in with our wonderful technological staff. There seems to be a problem with the sound for the live stream. I see Doug there. I have sound on, but it's not playing. Let me see if we can get that. Make that work. Our apologies as you bear with us. All right, we're trying to figure out if we should switch to Miami or we have a video we can play. Maybe we can play the Tiller's Folly video while we're getting this together.
Inside these prison walls, doesn't time pass by to call Lolita? Can you tell me what was your crime? Lock you away from all of your kind, lost and afraid for such a long time, Lolita. Bring Lolita home. She'd been through, leave the girl alone. Sing Lolita, oh, sing Lolita, sing Lolita. She's been gone way too long. Bring Lolita home. They stole you away from paradise. They sold you for ticket price, but people can be cold as ice, Lolita. Out there your family still waits for you, far and away from this pent-up zoo, where people point and they laugh at you, Lolita. Bring Lolita home. She'd been through, just leave the girl alone. Sing Lolita, oh, sing Lolita, oh, sing Lolita. She's been gone way too long. Bring Lolita home. Help is coming, though the hour is late. Save you from your twisted fate. Storm the walls, tear down the gates. Bring Lolita home. Bring Lolita home. If you knew all she'd been through, just leave the girl alone. Say Sing Lolita home. Sing Lolita. She's been gone way too long. Bring Lolita home. Sing Lolita home. Sing Lolita home. Sing Lolita. She's been gone way too long. 45 years is a long, long haul. Trapped inside these prison walls. Doesn't time pass by at a crawl? Lolita.
I can unmute myself.
Okay, perfect. And the video just left.
All right, can you see us now?
Okay. Thank you all for bearing with us while we dealt with the technical issues. I am happy to bring Doug James from Lummi, who is floating out on Penn Cove. And thanks to Kurt Russo and for arranging all this with Lummi. And thank you to Bonnie Swift, who is recording and live streaming and Zooming and attempting to bring us all there with them on Penn Cove. And it looks like we are there and it's happening. So Bonnie and Doug, we turn it over to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I also want to thank each and every one, you know, that came forward to help put this all together. You know, we're taking a breath of time out of your lives, you know, to make a difference. You know, that we can reach out for Skelly Chachtanat, you know, that we could offer up a prayer for her this day, you know, and reaching out to each and every one that can reach out to maybe 10 other people. We can really spread this wide to reach out across this country over to the East Coast where Skelly Chachtanat is. And that maybe we can touch her heart and her spirit with these prayers and giving her the confidence, you know, that the Lord's going to open up the doors that need to be open and close the doors that need to be closed, that she could be brought back home to her home waters here, to where she can choose where she lives and dies. It's up to the Creator to choose the time and place for each and every one of us. You know, if you had your choice to where you wanted to live and die taken away from you, how would you feel? You know, you got to put yourself in her place. You know, 50 years. It's been 50 years from the time she was taken out of these waters at 4 years old, taken away from her way of life, from her happy times with her pod here, her mother and her relatives. You know, there were happy times, and she remembers everything in them 4 years that she had here. She wants to come home. She's been crying out, singing her song, and she's been crying out telepathically, touching those that can listen, that have the gift to be able to hear her messages that she's been putting out. And she's asking if anybody out there that can hear her. Anybody out there that can hear me, I want to go home. I want to go home. Anybody help me go home? and it's real. These whales have the ability to reach out spiritually, and we all have to come to that reality check, you know, that who are we to take them from their way of life? Who are we to decide where they live and die, as long as they continue to make that almighty dollar for those that have been keeping her in captivity for 50 years? Not only her, but all those that have died in captivity, Hugo, and all the rest of them would rather die than live in that captivity in that little wash tub of a pool that they put them in. But this waters that we're sitting on right now, the peace and serenity that's here at this moment, and you reflect back to all the chaos that took place 50 years ago, all the cries that went out, those that were around these waters could hear the whales crying and crying and crying out, or the whales that died trying to save their little ones. You know, it was a very tragic moment. We can only imagine as we're sitting on these waters, you know, of all the pain that took place here. So all we want to do right now at this time is to ask for a blessing upon the waters here. For those that know anything about Emoto, you know, that he proved that water has memory. These waters have memory of what happened 50 years ago here. Water is life. Pray for the healings of the water. We heard it said that, you know, it's really important to pray for the healing of our land. If our land can heal, our people can heal. So I have a little tobacco offering I'd like to offer to the waters. You know, just open up that path and open up that way for these prayers to travel across these waters to the L pods and to the other pods that are out there. To Scally's mother. To the waters. The tobacco. This tobacco was given to us while we're over on the East Coast last year, you know, to offer it to the waters and just asking, you know, for our prayers to go across these waters. You know, when the orcas cry out, they can reach 10 miles across waters. I want to share a prayer and then I'll share a song, you know, and it's called the Swallowing. And the prayer song is asking to be of one heart and one mind. And as the song is going out across the waters, you know, you can send your prayers across these waters to and across this land over to Skelly Chuktanat, asking her to hang in there because we're doing everything possible to ask the Creator to open the doors now, that she can be allowed to come home. So Heavenly Father, you know, we're reaching out to you and asking for your blessings upon these waters, to lift up that memory from the waters, you know, that the orcas can come back into these waters and know the peace and harmony that they knew before the 50 years ago, that tragic times. Allow these memories to be lifted up off these waters, Lord, lifting them up to you and asking to please blessings, bring your blessings down upon these waters. That water is life. And if you talk to your water before you drink it, you know, saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, you're putting healings into that water. You're putting good things into that water that you take into your bodies. You know, talk to your water, talk good things to your water. because it can shift your metabolism and everything. Teach your children how to pray. If you teach your children how to pray in the right way, they can change your lives. They can change and shift things in the atmosphere. Because these little human beings are very powerful. They're very powerful little spiritual people. They're pure and they're innocent. And their prayers are very powerful. Prayer needs to be spoke out, because when you pray out loud, you're releasing that power and saying, you know, by crisscrossing these prayers from all directions, they join and crisscross at one point across this universe, and they create that power. And it's coming together with the Aichwalun, with one heart and one mind. So once again, we're asking that you bless the Kohamish that used to live in these waters, that are traveling around these islands, and that the time's going to come when Scally Chachtanat, she's named after the village that was here back in the old days. The old people that used to live here used to have a village here that's called Scally. And our late chief that just passed away back in June here, Sialik, the late Sialik, he allowed us to give Tokitae a new name. She's no longer going to be known as Lolita or Tokitae. She's be given a new name, Scally Chachtanat. Scally Chachtanat. Scally Chachtanat. It comes from here, where she was taken from the old village site that's here. It used to be here long ago. And that's where her new name comes from. So our chief asked us last year to travel to Miami. So Caleb and myself, Sidney Caleb, we went to Miami and we hollered out that name to Scally. We put that name on her over there in Miami outside this aquarium. So that's her name, and that's how she's going to be remembered here when she comes back home always. She's not going to take that past names, that showgirl name that was given to her a long time ago. And she's going to be that very beautiful spiritual being that she is meant to be. The Creator created her to live in these waters. I don't know why man thinks that he can take these beautiful creatures from these waters like that and turn them into nothing but a moneymaker for themselves. So asking for that healing of these waters now, Lord, just reaching out. I'm going to offer up that song, and I'm going to sing it to the four directions, to the north, to the west, to the south, and sending it to the east where Scally is. We'll finish the song in the eastern directions. I'd swallow it. Wreath. At this time, we're going to go ahead and set this offering into the water, and then I'll sing the other half of the songs to the south and to the east. So we're going to release this, and we're going to ask the Creator for those that died, the Coahuilmachin that lost their lives during this capturing 50 years ago, lifting up this sorrow from these waters, Lord. Let it be carried off with this beautiful wreath that was put together here in remembrance of the Coahuilmachin that were taken from these waters. And again, for those that died here, OCM. Just asking the Creator, lift the sorrow from these waters, that these ones don't have to carry this memory anymore. And that these waters would be open to them to come and enter these waters peacefully once again, saying Haishka to you. Haishka. Hutch, swallowing, swallowing sin. Hutch, swallowing, swallowing sin. Hutch, swallowing, swallowing sin. bring you home. All my relations, what them? Aishka. Ike Swallowing is that song. And for those that never got the first part of the explanation of that song and where it came from, back in the 90s, we had a minke whale that came to our shores and sacrificed her life. And the story goes, the reason I'm going to share this is it tells us that these whales are very spiritual beings. All these whales are. And they have the ability to communicate spiritually with the human beings. They have the heart, eyes, and ears to look and listen so they can see and hear. So back in the early 90s, this minke whale beached herself upon our shores. And we had an elder there who we're really becoming poor of for those that do have the eyes and ears to be able to hear that spiritual realm and understand what they're saying. The day that this whale died upon our shores, the elder was telling me, said this whale sacrificed her life. There was a young man, 18 years old, down in Macaw Reservation down there. Somebody hit him on the head with a bat and killed him. Sorry to put that out there like that, but we need to know the depth of why, this whale did what she did. This boy's spirit was wandering and couldn't rest in the land down there. And this boy's mother came. She was from Lummi, and his father was from down there. Anyway, this whale took pity upon this boy's his spirit, and came to the shore and told this boy's spirit that she was an ancient ancestor of his family down there, and that she took pity upon him, and she took his spirit on her and carried his spirit back home to where his mother's grew up. And these whales entered into Bellingham Bay, and our waters are right off the shores there of the Lummi Nation. These whales circled around and around out in the bay out there, and it was noticed that where they were circling was right straight out in the waters where this boy's mother grew up and their family lived there. And there was two of them. One whale swam back out to the deep waters, went on his way. The other one, she swam into the shallow waters and put herself into the shallows. And our elder that was sharing this with me was telling me at that very moment she beached herself, she released that boy's spirit, brought it back home. And as there's about 20 of us that tried pushing this whale back out to the deep water. And we got maybe 15, 20 feet. It was all the further that we can get her because the tide was heading out. We lost the battle. And as this whale was laying there dying, in the last few heartbeats of this whale, this song that we sing, the I Swallow It, is the song that we heard, the song that she gave us. And as her heart stopped, we captured that song. There was those that heard it, we went right back to our elder's place and got a drum. And, I was saying that the reality of the spiritual realm is very real. And as we were singing, so we got to have a drum, so we should capture the song. And right at that very moment, this drum that was hanging on the wall, come flying off the wall, hit the floor and rolled right to my brother. But sheesh, I is we better sing that song. We did. We sang that song over and over and over and over until we captured it. You know, and so that song is calling people to come together with one heart and one mind. Put everything aside, all your differences, no matter who you are or where you come from. We're all by swallowing. We come together with one heart and one mind here. And we can make a difference. We can change things. We can make a shift happen. You know, and asking our Creator, our God, you pray in your own way, however you want to reach out across these waters to Scally Chaktanat over there. And let her know that the door is going to open for her to come home. So things are in motion. Things are being prepared for the place that where she's going to be reacclimated into the waters here. So just believe with all your heart, all of your mind, soul, and spirit, you know, that this is going to happen. And reach out with that prayer. We're reaching our hands up to all of you that have that spirit within you to want to make a difference. You have a piece of the puzzle. Every one of you can take and put your little piece of a puzzle into the picture here. We watch children come and put their hands on a whale carving that we did and watch them put their heads on it, and they just put their heart and soul and spirit into that prayer, reaching out to Scally Chaktanat, you know, and it was very real. We left this carving over in Great Gainesville University Museum over there, and we left it there all winter. We just went back and got it last year, 2 years ago. Anyway, the coordinator of the museum said they had over 100,000 people come through that exhibit. He said we never had that many come through this museum before, ever. You know, so the word's going out. There's people on the other side of the world. Last June, you know, we not this one, but the year before, you know, we had a worldwide prayer go out, you know, asking people around the world to reach out to all the whales out there that are in captivity, that they can be set free. So I'd swallowing, you know, to all of you, I want to say Haishka, and to all of you that are here helping piece this all together, all the different organizations, you know, saying Haishka to you, our legal representative saying Haishka, saying thank you, you know, for stepping up and standing beside for those that don't have a voice. You know, it's for Scally Chaktanat that this is all taking place. So this it's a spiritual movement that is happening, and you know, there's some real depth of what is taking place. You know, in 2013, I had a pastor come to me at home back in Lummi there. And we were going to put on a conference here, and this pastor tells us, you know, he came into our planning meeting because we're asking, you know, trying to figure out how we're going to do this conference. And this guy, I never met, didn't know him from Adam, you know, but he comes in and sits at our tables, and him and another guy. And I asked him, I says, I stopped my meeting and said, everybody introduce yourself. And I get over to this guy and I said, all right, now tell us who you are, why you're here, and who sent you. And this guy says, okay, I can do that. My name is Jason Hubbard. I'm a pastor out of Bellingham. My church is on the corner of so-and-so, James and Sunset. And asked for who sent me, God sent me. I said, okay, I can't argue with that. You want to elaborate a little more? And he said, sure. I was told to come here and tell you people we have to get together and pray together for what's coming. For what God has got coming, he said. 2 years prior to me being here tonight, he says, God told me that he's going to do a great work in the Pacific Northwest. And that he's going to use the Lummi Nation in a very big way. He told me to tell you it's really important to pray for the healing of your land. Pray for the healing of the land. If the land can heal the people, pray for the healing of the waters, because water is life. And so this is all intertwined. I honestly believe that Skelly Chucknut he's going to be using her because of the multitudes of people that he's bringing together from all walks of life are coming together and praying together and praying that this whale can be brought back home. Let God have his way. Let him bring this beautiful spiritual being back home to her family. Once again, I'd swallow into all of you. Aishkan, Stella Chasi, to all my relations.
Thank you so much, Doug. We so appreciate all that Doug has done. And Bonnie, thank you for hanging in there and making this live stream Zoom happen. We are really just blessed to have made so many wonderful friends at Lummi and to have their support and leadership in working to bring Scully Chucknut home. We are now going to go from Penn Cove, where Toki was captured, to the shores of Miami, just outside the Miami Aquarium, to other dear friends that we've made who carry on every weekend on the front lines there in Miami. Alejandro Dentino and Sylvia Grimaldi Gomez are doing a water ceremony on the other side of the country in Miami, just outside of, just on the beach outside of Toki's tank. They did another ceremony or a live stream earlier from just outside the Aquarium that is on Alejandro's page, and we'll be sharing that on our page, and we'll be putting all the links to these ceremonies sharing on our page as well. So now we are on to Miami.
Is it working? Do you hear it? Test.
Habla más fuerte y cerca el micrófono en la boca. Ahí está hablando. Ah, espera, dame un segundo. Hello, hello. Yeah. Vamos, Silvia. Okay, we start. Just start. Yeah, start record. Yeah, we're recording.
Ready?
Yeah, put it.
I just want to let them know we're recording, so they don't say anything they don't want on the recorder.
Hello.
Okay, we're recording.
Okay, ready. Start, Silvia.
50 years ago, on August 8th, a young Scully Chucknut, also known as Tokitae or Lolita, was violently taken from Scully Chuck family, the southern resident killer whales. She was taken from the Lummi people, for whom orcas are Quij-Loch-Melchen, are relations underwater. 50 years ago, on September 23rd, Scully Chucknut was moved in a tiny tank at Miami Sea Aquarium. 50 years too many, Scully Chucknut has been held captive and made to perform daily for her food. But change is coming. Despite decades of worldwide outrage and activism, Miami Sea Aquarium has refused to let Scully Chucknut go. But now the tide has turned and change is coming. 2 Lummi tribal members are calling for Scully Chucknut to be brought home to the Salish Sea. They're invoking their legal, cultural, spiritual, and kinship rights. Esquila Aleja, Raynor Morris, and Ty Mass, Ellie Kenley, are supported in this work by Earth Law Center and some of the world's top orca scientists, researchers, veterinarians, and experts in captive organ release, transport, rehabilitation, and repatriation. We are hopeful that Miami Sea Aquarium and their parent companies, EQT, Parques Reunidos, and Palace Entertainment, will partner with us in bringing her home to the Salish Sea. Regardless, we will bring her home.
We will bring her home.
Yes. The Lummi people have been in a reciprocal relationship with Melchton since time immemorial. Last summer, Lummi Nation held a Snat-Tang, a traditional naming ceremony for the southern resident killer whale population. Traditional names connect family members to one another, to ancestors, to culture, and to a spirit. In receiving the name Escalichat, this specific Melchton were affirmed as members of the Lummi family. Escalichatana is a member of the Escalichat family, as her name shows. Esquilelehela has said, she is part of our community. It's our sacred obligation to bring our relation out of captivity at Miami Sea Aquarium, to bring her safely home to the Salish Sea. She was taken from her family and her culture when she was just a child, like so many of our children were taken from us and placed in Indian boarding schools. Reuniting her with her family, reuniting her with us, helps make us all whole, explained Timas. We are at a time when we all need healing. We are all family, Quehol Meshtiv and Lummi people. What happens to them happens to us. Our ceremony today will join with others around the world holding events and ceremonies. We call out to her and for her, as people will around the globe, and say, and we all say,
we will bring her home.
Yes, we will bring her home. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. Okay, we had to now with the flowers, right? With
yes, did you explain what type of...
No, I didn't do it. No, you can do it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Come on. It's biodegradable, so no fishes will be harmed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gabriel.
You hear that?
Okay, let's go. Now we're gonna drop some flowers in the water. Sylvia is going. Be careful, Sylvia. We are honoring Escalichatana because we will bring you home. Lolita Tokitae.
The ones that died.
Yeah. Lolita Tokitae, Escalichatana. We will bring you home. 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 So we are placing those flowers in the water. You can see that's our hope that Lolita finally will be returned home. Let me go closer. I really don't care, you know. Just it's gone. It's there. It's going. Just we had a hope that Lolita is going back home. We will bring you home. We will bring you home, Lolita. We will bring you home. The stadium is in the back, very close. I hope she can hear us. We are offering this to Lolita. We are supporting the Lummi Nation, Lolita, Tokitae, Escalichatana family. Lummi Nation has the powerful to bring Lolita home. So keep supporting Lummi Nation, Air Loss Center, Orca Network, and those organizations non-profit that are fighting for bringing Lolita home. We will achieve it. We will achieve it. Thank you so much. Stay tuned, more is coming up. Just keep streaming in the Zoom, Orca Network webinar. Stay connected. don't go away. Stay there because we have an amazing event today. This has been part of this event. So thank you so much. The flower red is going into the sea. Maybe it finds Lolita's family at the end, just at the end, very far. We never know. Maybe that's the connection. Okay, let's hope that this year Lolita is coming home. I feel deeply into my heart we will achieve it. Thank you so much for supporting this angel. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Alejandro and Sylvia. That was beautiful. I'm sure that Lolita can feel your love as she feels it every weekend when you're there fighting for her. So now we are coming back from Miami back to the Salish Sea to our final water ceremony. And thank you to all of you who are hanging in there. I know it's a long webinar, but we have one more water ceremony at Lummi Stonamish Grounds. And then we will have Howard Garrett, Raynell and Ellie from Lummi, and Michelle Bender from Earth Law to share updates about all of our efforts to bring her home. So at Doug James, who we just left in Penn Cove, is magically appearing up at Lummi in this ceremony that was recorded this morning with Doug James, his beautiful wife, Siam Elwitt, Jewel James, Raynell Morris, and Ellie Kinley Tomas bring you this ceremony that was held earlier this morning at Lummi.
OSEM, Nostalgia, CEM, to all our relatives that swim in these sacred waters. We're coming forward here this day, offering a little token of love, a token of the cedar bough, offering to the spirits of those that live under the sea, asking for the blessings upon these waters for which our relative Scally Choctanot comes from. This is her homeland. This is where her family swims throughout these islands. She's indigenous to the San Juan, these sacred waters here. We're asking our Great Father, the Spirit, to bring her back home. We're asking for all of you that come from way back to sing your song, to offer this prayer that she may one day come home and join her family and her relatives from these waters here. So reaching out to you, and asking that you accept a small token of the tobacco and of the wreath of the cedar bough, reaching out in a good way here, CEM. To all of our relations, CEM. To all of you that have been standing in unity with one heart and one mind across this vast country and across this world, that are reaching out to all those that don't have a voice. Speak up so that you may be heard. There's no distance prayer cannot reach. Join together in unity with one heart and one mind. And as this wreath will be placed into the water, we're going to share the song that came from the Mickey whales. And it was called the Ite Swallowin'. The Ite Swallowin'. And it was asking to be of one heart and one mind.
We will bring you home.
Ah! Chaktanat. Scally Chaktanat. Scally Chaktanat. We're calling you home. We're calling you home. We're asking the Creator to open this door now. We're standing in unity across this vast land and lifting you up in prayer this day and asking our Creator to let this be so now. We of the Lummi Nation are reaching out across this country and calling you home now. We're saying Haishka to all our relations, all those that are standing in unity, that believe that these great ones should be set free, as the Lord and as Creator has made them to roam free in these waters. It's not man's destiny to rule and dominate over them as spiritual beings that they are. For all those that stand in the unity of this day, our hands are out to you and saying, Haishka, thanking you. I swallowing to be of one heart and one mind. Osiam. Osiam. Haishka. Hey.
Thank you, Doug and Jewel and Sienna, Wit, Raynell and Ellie. And thanks to the Lummi Nation for taking on and taking the lead in efforts to bring Scully Choctaw home back to the Salish Sea. There's so much more power and spirit and prayer and meaning that you bring to all of our efforts. And together we will bring her home. I wanted to do a quick screen share of a Facebook page, an event page on the sacredsea.org site, the Worldwide Water Ceremony for Scully Choctaw. And it will start today on the day that she was captured and will go until September 23rd, the day that she was brought to Miami, to where she lives still. What we hope is that you are all inspired by these beautiful ceremonies and water offerings. And in the coming days during this Facebook event, we invite you to do your own ceremony wherever you live, however you want to do it, near any body of water. If you live, in a desert, you can fill a vessel with water and make an offering there. But we just felt it would be really more meaningful if everyone around the world wanted to take part in the ceremonies. So our offering this way to do that. And I thank Julie Trimmingham and Raynell and all of the Lummies for starting this Facebook event page to keep the tradition and the water ceremony offerings going in the coming month and a half. And I believe it really does. Toki can hear and feel and see what we're doing, and this will help bring her home. So next, we will transition from the ceremonial part to the presentations. And we apologize, we're running a little behind time, but we will do our best. We will start with an update from Howard Garrett, who started in the early 90s working to bring Lolita, Tokitae, Scully Choctaw home. And he will give a little bit of history of the efforts so far. Then following him, we will have Raynell Morris and Ellie Kinley Tomas, who will talk about the Lummies leadership in this. And then following that, we'll have Michelle Bender from the Earth Law Center update on legal efforts as well. So Howard. There, that's.
Okay. Okay, I have something under 10 minutes to describe the entire history of the now 25-year Lolita campaign, as we called it in the beginning anyway, and describe the plan to bring her back. So that's impossible. To describe the history of the campaign, I once again recommend, although it's backwards on the screen, a Puget Sound Orca in Captivity by Sandra Pollard. She gives a lot of information, and what I will do now is tell you something else, the rest of the story, the origins of the campaign before 1995, when it was announced by Ken Balcom of the Center for Whale Research, along with the Governor and Secretary of State of Washington, at the Daybreak Star Indian Cultural Center in Seattle, on March 9th, 1995. But before that was the real origins of the campaign, so I'll describe that now, and that will be here. Believe it or not, the campaign actually began with this movie, Free Willy. And this is going too fast. But this was actually the beginning. It was when that movie came out in June 1993 that Ken Balcom, again, was asked to find a better place. It shouldn't be going this fast. I should be going that quickly. But that was not to be at first, because even though there was this agreement and Keiko, the star of Free Willy, was looking very bad, there was this meeting in which the managers of the park made it clear that they made an agreement with Ken, gave him 6 months to come up with a complete plan for Keiko, but all of them were sure, as was Ken from all of his research, that he could go back to the ocean and do well. And that didn't happen. SeaWorld intervened, or the industry intervened big time and made it impossible. This is going fast, which I need to do too. But what happened at the same time was this article that came out in Life magazine by Jo Beth McDaniel that was kind of like the Blackfish of the fall of 1993. It hit every kind of media around the world. We're kind of jumping around here, but that's entertaining. And as it says, a determined biologist is trying to save him. But eventually, the whole concept, in essence, did happen. Keiko did go back to Iceland. He did thrive. He did love it back in Icelandic waters. He did very well for a long time. But Ken turned his thoughts to Lolita, Tokitae, in Miami. And that's when we really began to work on a plan for her to come back. And then August 8th, 2017, the Lummi Indian Business Council announced their sacred obligation to return her to her native waters and to them as a family member. So that was momentous, and it actually took the whole campaign, took the whole idea of her coming back to a whole new level, which is where it still is today. So let me now go to a new share to show you a little bit about, let's see, I have that here somewhere. Oh yes, well, what I have to do, stop share. I just have to go here, and then here, and then back here, and then share that screen. Well, let's see, is this going to, there we go. All right, you can't responsibly ask to have a whale returned to its native waters if you don't have a plan and a place. There has to be a protected, confined area, netted off sea pen place where there can be some rehabilitation, where there can be some time for the whale that is captive to reacclimatize, to come back into full stamina and to make sure that she is in good shape to be able to swim freely, and even then may need monitoring, even provisioning that could be indefinite. It will depend on her progress and her abilities. As we've seen from the earlier videos, she is very much alive and alert, has good energy, good physical and mental health. She responds well to affection. She will build and rebuild bonds of trust and relationships with people. And she is fully capable of coming back, and she has the memory of her time before, the 4 years or so before capture, when she was an active, engaged member with a role in her family and her community. So she is ready. There is another iteration of a plan for her underway right now. It's likely to look a lot like this one, but this you can find at the orcanetwork.org/Lolita Facebook page. That'll get you there. And what you'll find is this retirement plan is not just release. That scares people, and it may not ever be released. But there is a proposal, and it's backed up with all of this supportive material. For instance, there is the Appendix D, an annotated bibliography of cetacean releases. That means it's a literature search of every kind of scientific paper, article, any factual record or document of a release or an effort or any supportive material, veterinary reports, anything that applies, that is relevant to releasing. We looked that up, basically Ken did, over the summer of 1993 and beyond, as well as a list here, Appendix C, of all of the cetacean releases, whale and dolphin releases that were known. So that is still available. That's right there, as well as a lot of other supportive material. And then if you go to the actual plan itself, it is full of the details, the location. You can find the overhead view of the sea pen site on Orcas Island, the chart. So for any plan to return a whale to its native waters, you have to have, I guess you could say, 3 elements. One is the whale, and what is missing, of course, so far is agreement from the owners. And they are completely opaque. They're not just, divulging anything about what they're thinking, but the economic forces, for one, and the social forces and the legal efforts are piling up and could create that moment when they're ready to talk. So that could happen. But also, you have to have the location, a very good location to bring her back. And this is considered an ideal location by experts, such as Michael Parks and others who have said, yeah, that looks pretty good. It would be netted off from those rocks over to the shore. So that would be her rehabilitation site, her initial immersion into her native waters. And otherwise, what you need are the protocols, all of the steps, all of the transport equipment phases, the different vehicles. There has to be a crane, there has to be a flatbed truck, there has to be a cargo aircraft, there has to be a barge to go out, to take her out to the actual site, to lower her down. And many specialists, professionals, experts who will be part of that, and certainly medical crew and animal training crew who can oversee the whole process. It's many, many working parts. And we attempted to account for everything that we knew here. And so you can see it's quite extensive. And it's pretty much standard. Orcas have been moved for 60 years or more in the industry, and not one has been harmed from the move. So that is pretty much standard operation to do that. So I think I have finished my update. I don't know if I got it under 10 minutes, but pretty close. So let us move on. Who is next, Susan?
Thank you. And again, thanks to everyone for hanging in there. Next, we will hear from up at Lummi, Raynell Morris and Ellie Kinley Tomas, who are two wonderful women who have Toki deep in their hearts. They were part of the naming ceremony to name her Scully Choctaw. And they have been the leaders in bringing forth legal efforts to try to bring her home to the Salish Sea. We are just very honored to have such powerful leadership in bringing her home, and I will let the two of you share what you've been doing. Thank you so much.
First of all, we would like to raise our hands to Susan and Howie and the rest of the Orca Network for their dedication and their excellent work in keeping this work moving forward. So in our way, raising our hands, Haishka, CM, thank you, my friends. We're really honored and pleased to be here. I just want to introduce myself in our traditional way. Naut CM, Nuili Nostalgia CEM, Skile Hela, Senesnat, Chuck Lummi-san. Hello, my respected friends, and welcome to my friends. My traditional name is Skile Hela. My English name is Raynell Morris. I'm from Lummi. And I am pleased to have my sister. She's my tribal sister. We walk hand in hand in this campaign, in this work, our sacred obligation to do this.
Hi, my traditional name is Tomas, and my English name is Ellie Kinley, and I am from the Lummi Nation, and I'm just really excited to see everybody that's on here and that everybody's still here watching the program a few hours later.
So what we wanted to do is we sent a letter of intent to sue, just Ellie and I on our own without legal representation. In July, it was 1 year. We did not get the response that we were hoping for from Miami Seaquarium are the owners. So as Creator has it, as ancestors do, they brought us to the people that can help us walk in the legal world. They brought us to Earth Law Center. We are so pleased to have this partnership with them and the work that's begun under their guidance in this legal approach to bringing her home. Doesn't mean we're going to stop the traditional way. Doesn't mean we're going to stop the public awareness. We're all doing all of that. The legal path is just another avenue. We're doing everything that we can within our power to bring our relative home to the Sailor Sea, to a home, to her mother, home to her family, that'll help make us whole. So I would like to introduce our legal representative that's here with us on Zoom, Michelle Bender from Earth Law Center. Hi, Ishka.
Hi, everyone. As Raynell introduced, I'm the Ocean Rights Manager at Earth Law Center. And thank you, Orca Network, for putting together this event and having us all together to honor Skelly Tokitae. Earth Law Center, we work locally and within the U.S. With communities and Indigenous peoples to advance new laws and policies that recognize our interconnection with nature, that nature and all of its components and species have inherent rights to exist and thrive. And as noted, we announced our legal representation this year. So after Ellie and Raynell already began such great work to start this, and after, as we've heard, decades long of great work as well. And I do want to add that it's just been an honor to learn everyone's, hard work to date, and to also just learn from Ellie, Raynell, and the Lummi people, and to just support them in the ways that we can. We've seen that our Western legal system has unfortunately failed Skelly Tokitae. So we now have to ask ourselves, how can we encourage her release home? And so our goal is to really add on this different layer and this focus, and that is of the rights of Indigenous peoples, of Ellie Raynell in particular, their right to culture, their relationships to be respected, and really the inherent rights of Skelly Tokitae herself. And as far as some updates we can share, we have sent a letter to the parent companies of Miami Sea Aquarium. They are EQT, Parques Reunidos, Palace Entertainment, some of you may know, and really outlining the issue and to invite them to have a discussion in hopes of coming to a favorable solution for all the parties. And we are reviewing internally our next steps with our clients. We also know that the aquarium, along with others, they have requested bailout funds in light of the pandemic. And so we recently supported a letter to Congress, along with 18 other organizations, that, if funds are given, that certain contingencies should be placed on such funds. And such contingencies include ending this practice of holding whales and dolphins in captivity and supporting their move to a seaside sanctuary, and supporting the move of Skelly Tokitae and her release back home. And it's been noted that we do have a petition on change.org that we're asking everyone to sign and share to really help build the support for bringing her back home, put the pressure on the Sea Aquarium to work with us towards reuniting her with her family. And we can add that into the chat if that's helpful. And so, yeah, we're hearing that Skelly Tokitae is sacred to the Lummi people. She's family. She has her own rights, and she needs to be home. And we must listen to that. So with that, we will bring her home. Thank you. I'll turn it back to our partners.
I do want to just close by saying the work that we're doing, you can always stay connected and linked to where we're at and anything new through sacredsea.org.
Aishka.
We are so excited to have these legal efforts starting, and the folks at Earth Law Center are wonderful, and Ellie and Raynell and everyone at Lummi. There are so many people and organizations doing their part and helping, and it's feeling, 2020 has been such an awful year in so many ways, but maybe it will end with some good news, and maybe Scully Choctaw coming home will be part of that news, and that will begin the healing for so many things that need healed now. Thank you so much for being part of today and for the ceremonies, and thank you, Michelle, for all that Earth Law is doing and coming to talk to us today. So we do have some time for a Q&A, and it looks like we still have almost 150 of you hanging in there. I know this is a long webinar, so we really are honored so many people signed in and are being a part of this. And I wanted to mention that we are recording it, and we will be posting the link for it on our Facebook page, and we can share it to the sacredsea.org page. And then I have also, we will be sharing the wreath ceremony, the worldwide wreath ceremony event page on our page as well, and it's on sacredsea.org. So to keep up with what is happening, check out those two pages. And there's also an Orca Network Tokitae group page on Facebook. If you aren't part of that, you just have to ask to be, you can go to it, and you will be added to it. So just thanks again to everybody for being a part of this. I'm going to turn it over to, so Cindy and Amanda. One, I just want to thank our, all the little pictures we have of Toki. Behind those are really hardworking staff, Cindy Hansen, Amanda Colbert, sorry, and Katie Watkins, and Elisa Lemire Brooks, who has signed on as Tokitae Scully Choctaw. They've all been working hard behind the scenes, trying to help this go smoothly. So we are blessed with a wonderful staff and many, many wonderful volunteers. So Ishka to all, and to all of you out there who whose hearts are with Scully Choctaw and the efforts to bring her home. So while we're showing or doing the Q&A, I'm going to start a slideshow with slides of the Tokitae totem pole journey, of events from the last 25 years, and the efforts going on around the world to help her come home. So we will start Q&A now. Oh, and I have a note to mention that Sandra Pollard will also be available to answer questions about her books and her research on the orca captures.
All right, so thanks so much, Susan, for turning it over to Q&A. I don't have any questions for any specific panel members here, so I don't know whether to just read them, and whoever, has the answer or wants to touch on, we can kind of do round robin with this. But so looking through the questions that I have in the chat, there are a couple that overlap with each other. And I figure maybe we can start off with what Lolita's, there are a couple questions in here about Toki concerning what the chances are that she will be released. So if somebody wants to talk about that first, maybe.
Well, that's unanswerable. I mean, that's a futuristic question. All I can say is I have faith, I have hope, and I see a lot of momentum, a lot of movement in that direction, and it could happen anytime. So, you know, economic, social, and legal forces are all going that direction. And I do want to mention that we have a very active and productive volunteer in Sweden who has brought Toki Skallichaktanat's story to many groups, animal welfare groups, very big ones with hundreds of thousands of members who have made stories and posts and are generating a lot of publicity about that, and they are directing that to the parent company, EQT, based in Sweden, that ultimately owns this aquarium, and where, you know, the ultimate decision may be made. So they're going to feel some heat on their doorstep, as well as all along the way and with many of their other holdings, and especially at this aquarium. So, you know, it could happen anytime. I believe it will.
We also believe here at Lemmy, Tomas, and myself, Skila that in ceremony, the ancestors have told us that this is a hard work for us to do. We save her, we save the Salish Sea, we save Quithalmich and Orcas, we save the salmon, we save us. We believe.
All right, if no one else wants to touch on that one, there are a couple questions in the chat regarding, and how you did touch on this a little bit, but maybe just to reiterate, you know, would Toki be able to survive if Miami's Aquarium lets her go?
Everything we do addresses that, and my presentation in those videos, I think, you know, gave the evidence. She's fine. She's in very good shape. No orca has been harmed in transport, you know, over 6 decades. So where is the risk? I hear that, you know, claim all the time, certainly from this aquarium, but from many others too, that there is great risk. It would be a danger to her life. Where? At what point? Nobody has said what they're talking about. So yes, she would survive.
Thanks. I have another question on here. It says, would it be helpful for those of us on the webinar today to contact our representatives about this aquarium's request for funds?
That would be a legal sounding question. I think it would. That would be my opinion. Michelle, are you here? No.
I'm here.
Oh, good.
I just went quiet. No, yes, of course, any sort of pressure like that that works on that side of things is helpful. We have the letter that the 18 organizations sent to Congress on our website, but we can also work with you to cater a more personal letter to representatives depending on where you are.
Perfect. And then to jump into a little more detailed question surrounding specific actions in our state representatives, someone had asked if anyone here in Washington State, such as Jay Inslee? Is there something that we could all do as a group that might have a bigger impact to get her release?
Sign petitions. The Earth Law Center has a petition at change.org. We should show that. And that, amplifies your voice many times. Contact your representatives. Believe. Have your heart in it. Tell people. We all send ripples out when we say she needs to come home. We will bring you home. And that has an effect.
Well, and I also want to say that we do know that Jay Inslee is in support of her coming home. Ralph Monroe, former Secretary of State, has talked to Jay about it. And we've talked to Jay and know he very much knows about and loves the orcas and knows their need for salmon, and that he does want to see her come home. And I believe he's had conversations with the Lummies about her as well. Maybe Raynell could speak more to it. But I think maybe sending letters to him, reminding him that she's still there and we need his support could be a good idea.
I'm still here. I'm not sure if I'm still muted.
No, we can hear you.
Susan, you're absolutely correct. We know that in order to be successful this year to bring her home, it's going to take the legal avenue, it's going to take a fundraising avenue, it's going to take public will, and then it's going to take political support and will. So all of those have to be working in tandem in order for us to achieve this in 2020, which Tomas and I believe with all of our heart that will happen. Our late chief, our late hereditary chief, Salik, told us that this was the work that would be done. We believe him, we believe he's still there. When we were doing ceremony at Water's Edge, during the high point in the song, the waves started coming up with power. It was spiritual. We believe it was Chief Salik on the other side letting us know he's with us.
Yes, his heart and his spirit are right with Toki and her family, and I think he will be helping. He helped when he was here on this earth, and I think he's going to continue where he is now, and how fortunate for such a wonderful person and his spirit to be part of this.
Well, thanks to the three of you. So there are a couple questions revolving around what you just touched on, and I'm kind of making some notes here. There have been some questions asking to share the latest link to the petition. Someone mentioned that there are several on change.org, and they want to make sure that we have the latest one available. The same with possibly sharing a fundraising effort that's happening if and once this aquarium agrees to let her go. So I think that's something we could probably compile and put on our webpage to help answer some of those questions there.
Cindy, I could answer the fundraising question. We are raising funds for her return and her rehabilitation and the work from now until then. If you could pass on the sacredseed.org, there's a button on there to push donate that goes directly to our tribal nonprofit. It is only and exclusively used for Skelly Tactonut's support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rainel.
Some other questions have been asked, besides signing petitions, besides possibly donating money, are there any other actions or what can someone do that can help bring Toki home?
Well, I think we touched on it. We're going to have a 50-year anniversary of her arrival in Miami, September 23rd. And Tomas and I, and we call it our pod, are working on some events for specific to that on September 23rd. We have a Facebook page. Follow us on sacredseed.org. But building awareness, and if you have any political contacts, to ensure that your political representatives, local, state, and federal, are all aware of her condition and her capture and the resistance of Miami Seaquarium to date to do the right thing.
Thanks. I have another question here. It says, how do you partner with Dolphin Project to advance and hasten the release of Lolita?
Well, we've been, they're doing some actions. They've been doing some actions today, including sharing Earth Law's petition, which I also just posted to our Orca Network page. And we will post that here. And we have Rick O'Berry has been at one of our ceremonies that we've done, and they are doing a lot of work in Miami and across the country to raise awareness. So we're working with many different groups in many different ways, and the Dolphin Project is one of those.
Perfect. Another question here just asks if there's been any outreach to some of the wealthy people who might be interested in helping with both the public platform and then possibly, you know, donating some money to make this happen.
As we've been, excuse me, this is Skila Hala from Lemmy. As we've been working on this campaign, we have been reaching out to, you know, wealthy folks that live in our area, wealthy folks that live where the headquarters to EQT and Miami Seaquarium are. Yes, we are going to ramp up our fundraising. We hope to kick off something major September 23rd.
Perfect. There is a question in here as well that says, is there any danger of Miami Seaquariums selling Toki if they're in financial distress?
Well, my guess about that is if they're in financial distress, the entire industry is in distress, and they would not be able to take on more liability. No other park would. Plus the fact that there is a worldwide campaign that is focused on her to bring her back, that would follow her anywhere she went. There are a host of reasons why that would be impossible, in my estimation.
Thanks, Howie. The next one says, I've heard that the southern residents have never returned to Penn Cove since the captures. Is that true?
Susan?
Well, I've heard that we have had orcas return to Penn Cove. In fact, the transient orcas were just there recently. And I, you know, we've heard that there has been a time or two they've been in Penn Cove, but I'm not sure if it's been confirmed whether it was actually the southern residents or the transient orcas. I don't know, Sandra, if that was something that you were ever able to figure out in your research, or Elisa, if you're still with us, if it's anything, you know, whether we have confirmation of Southern residents in Penn Cove.
I think some years ago, Susan, as you have said, there was reference to Southern residents in Penn Cove, but again, it was never certain. And I do recall 5, 6 years, maybe about 5 years ago, where there were whales in Penn Cove, and there was something going on whereby those of us who were normally out there taking photographs, we were all scattered in various directions and unable to get there. And we never established if the whales on that particular day were Southern residents or not. So basically, it's unconfirmed whether they have been back or not.
But I do know from a friend of mine who's lived on the island, who was born here, when she was a young girl, she's in her 80s now, the orcas used to always come into Penn Cove. And Ken Balcom also, when he started his research in the early 70s, the Southern residents were in Seattle during the summer. They would show up in the middle of Seafair. So I know that they did spend a lot more time down in Puget Sound and in Penn Cove. Whether them not coming back has to do with the captures, which it very well could, or whether it has to do with the changes in salmon availability in Penn Cove, in that area. We can't be sure, but they certainly don't come in like they did in the past.
Thanks. There's another question here regarding, does Miami's Aquarium use her good health as proof that she is okay there and doesn't need released?
Sure. They say that. And of course they attribute to their care. And, they give it their best, but it's a tiny little tank. And it's getting Biscayne Bay water. It has to be chlorinated because it's only a few miles from Miami. It's a miracle and a wonder, but really a tribute to her strength, her courage, her ability, and I believe her belief that she will come home someday, that she is still alive. So yeah, they say many things. I did want to note a question came up about the Change.org petition, and Michelle had posted the link to it at 4:53 in the chats. So if you go there, you'll find a very, very long link to the Change.org petition.
And I think Amanda just may have posted it again.
Oh, good.
And I put it on our Orca Network Facebook page as well.
All right, so next question for you is, can Lolita still have children?
We don't think so. The menopause in orcas starts at about age 40. And so she's more than a decade beyond that at this point. So she is probably post-reproductive.
Thanks, Howie. This question says, public outcry for Keiko was amazing. It was thousands and thousands of children. What would be your ideas to get your story out to a much wider audience? For instance, possibly contacting the children that are now adults who may have their own children who could be advocates.
Right. Well, there's no way to do that individually, and so it needs to be done through media. Every little bit helps. That's where everybody can help. With social media, with just all of their family and friends and contacts, let them know. There are really so many, uncountable tens of thousands of people around the world, maybe more, who are very engaged, very passionately involved in bringing her home one way or another. And many of those are the Free Willy children, so, and their children at this point. So, that is happening. That was a moment in time, and unfortunately, Toki isn't a movie star, except for some documentaries that are very good but are not Blackfish. So there needs to be, some kind of massive publicity, but that's pretty hard to arrange.
Well, and I just want to add to that. We did in the early to mid 90s, there was a group of school kids in Oak Harbor at Hillcrest Elementary called Lolita's Legions, who wrote to the then Governor Lowry and got him, they did a petition and he came to Oak Harbor and accepted it from them. And, they're now older, probably adults with kids of their own. But we also, someone that we met in this circle of friends we've made through this journey, Robin Knoll, who used to live on Whidbey Island and saw the captures, and she was a 4th grader in Oak Harbor. And she wrote a letter, and Howie, you probably remember this more than I do. I'm trying to remember who she wrote the letter to.
Senator Magnuson. Magnuson, who, I'll go ahead, I'll finish your story if you want. And he wrote her back, a 4th grader. So she, Robin Knoll, became very active in her 4th grade and in her whole school and in other schools, and generated a lot of support. But Senator Magnuson went back and made sure that the Marine Mammal Protection Act of 1972 was passed, which was a start. Before 1972, meaning in 1970, when Toki was captured, there was really no limit to what they could do. Sandra, you could give more precise details about that, but at least the Marine Mammal Protection Act gave some protection, some notice from the federal government that we don't want to, harm the wildlife of the oceans. So her letter might have sparked the Marine Mammal Protection Act. That's quite the achievement.
Yeah, there was, in 1970, when Toki was captured, there was no law against orca hunting. Anyone with a netting license and the requisite resources could just go out there and capture whales. And that 1970 Penn Cove capture sparked so much outrage, particularly with the deaths of the 4 calves. And consequently, in 1971, they did, in Washington State here, require that anyone going out to capture orcas must have a permit. So then Griffin and Goldspree, who were the orca cowboys, as I refer to them, who caught most of the whales, many of which were sent to SeaWorld, they actually had to get a permit, and they were only allowed in 1971 to capture 6 whales, and that permit, they would have to pay $1,000 per whale captured. And they caught 4 whales then in 1971 in Penn Cove from K and L pods, I think it was. And 3 of those went, I think, to SeaWorld, and 1 was freeze branded and released. And their permit then allowed them 2 more whales to capture, which they did later on. And I think both those whales died in the aquarium. and then they were able to get apply then for another permit, which lasted about 9 months. And then as you say, the Marine Mammal Protection Act, which was passed in December 1972, that was then federal control. And that was when you had SeaWorld Direct applying for a permit.
Thanks, Sandra.
Yeah. And I just want to add one more little postscript to the story about Robin, the 4th grader, who now lives in California and has a daughter who, I guess it was 2 years ago, was in 4th grade, who is now involved in bringing Tokitae home. And they've been to many of the totem events, and somewhere, I'm not sure if it's in my slideshow, there's Rick O'Berry from the Dolphin Project now, but somewhere, I think in the slideshow, there is a picture of Robin's daughter as a 4th grader being interviewed by the Miami News, TV news anchor. So it's just really neat to see that being passed on. And, you know, I think we can inspire kids today to join together and help. And social media is a great way to inspire and get that going.
Thanks, Susan. So there's a little blurb in here for Howard, you in particular. It says, there seems like there might be bigger things at play here. You know, Miami's Aquarium and others invest to make money. They're not making money in this case. So is it really about the precedent that will be set if they release her in SeaWorld and putting others, or putting their own pressure on Miami's Aquarium not to release her?
Well, certainly, the precedent is what they're afraid of, or have been. That was the opposition to Keiko going back, and it was only a combination of many, many forces and a wealthy benefactor that gave Keiko a chance, and he responded well when he finally got it. But then that has been redefined for the public as as a failure. In some ways it was, there were mistakes made, but he responded well. So that, in fact, set a precedent, but in the public mind, it failed. So they are masters at PR. But, you know, the economic forces really do prevail here. And if they can't make any money, it's a big expense to take care of an orca in particular, not to mention all the other dolphins and sea lions and other animals they have at that park. It's very expensive. They have to have a dozen or so people just counting the cars in the parking lot every day to come in and feed and care for these animals. So they're not making any revenues. They're suffering huge expenses. There is no end in sight for them, and the public attitude is swinging all the time against live animal acts, certainly whales and dolphins. So, you know, those forces are all in motion right now, and that could overwhelm the fear of a precedent. And it was fierce. I mean, they fought tooth and nail and underhanded and very devious ways to try to prevent Keiko from ever going to his home. So that fear of a precedent is definitely there.
Thanks, Howard. There is another question here, and this is probably for the legal team, so possibly Michelle, if she is still on. It says, what is the estimated time for the legal process for release?
Hi. Putting a time on it is a little bit hard, but we are, you know, going off of what our clients are saying. And, you know, they've been told and believe that she will be brought home this year. So certainly we're working towards trying to make that a realization.
Thanks. I have a question from Sophie in here. It says, do you think Scully will be able to interact with her mother when she's transferred to the sea pen?
Well, culturally, we believe absolutely she will. Her mother taught her her song. Skelly Tokitae still sings her song. You heard Howie speak earlier about their memory and their intelligence. And so we also believe culturally you don't forget your family, in particular your mother and your family song.
Thank you, Raynell.
Yeah, thanks. Can the Endangered Species Act help with her release, as the southern residents are listed under this?
Well, there was a legal case. First, the petition to include her in the listing of her family, which took a couple of years. And then immediately a suit launched by PETA against the Aquarium for violations of the Endangered Species Act. And that went on for several years. It was dismissed, appealed, dismissed, and then appealed to a higher court and dismissed again on very, very frivolous grounds that, well, if it isn't killing her, then it's not harming her. So it's as if the courts just won't do it. They won't help. At least, you know, that's been the experience that that we have found in about 7 or 8 years of various cases against the USDA, the Aquarium. You know, there are clear violations of the Animal Welfare Act and the Endangered Species Act, but the courts just won't respond accordingly. That's been the experience so far.
Thanks, Howie. I think we have time for a couple more, and I know that we wanted to wrap up with the music video at the end, trying to be cognizant of time here since we're already a little bit over. But there is a question in here regarding some of the videos that we've shared, and it says, will the video of tribal members singing and drumming to Toki be shared? And if so, where would that be shared?
Are they referring to the Blackhawk singing?
I'm not sure, but possibly.
I believe that we have the Blackhawk singing on sacredseed.org. If not, we can upload it because they sang a song in Lummi Chasen, Lummi language, for Quithomachin, and we had that transferred to Southern Resident Killer Whale frequency and recorded on a pinger. When we go out and do ceremony, we drop the pinger, we sing, we pray. If we have live Chinook, we offer. And so I know we have that recording that we would be able to share.
Perfect. Would that be like social media on Facebook, or is that something you could upload to sacredseed.org?
I'm pretty sure we need to upload it to the sacredseed.org.
Perfect.
And I think I have that video on our event page for this event on Orca Network. I'm trying to remember. I know I was trying to upload some of the videos. I'm not sure if I got that one up yet, but we'll also try to make just a list of videos, including the Blackhawk Singers And I just want to mention, I get goosebumps just thinking and talking about them. But the music that we heard at the beginning was the Blackhawk Singers. That was at one of the events in Miami, and also when they played in front of the Aquarium. They speak directly to her, and it's that song is in my heart forever, and I believe it's in Scully Choctonauts' heart too. And I just want to thank them and thank the Lummi for their participation in all of this. And just Haishka to the Blackhawk Singers.
All right, so I'm going to ask this last question. It says, when Toki is released, what actions would be taken first at the Miami Aquarium regarding care and prep? And then how long would it take to move her to the sea pen?
Well, under the current, that's all accounted for. I mean, it's step by step. It's protocols, it's been done.
All right, and then kind of just to follow up on that, is the sea pen all ready to go when the agreement is made?
Well, we wouldn't be truthful to say it is all ready to go, but the discussions and the planning have been in the works for a long, long time. And now we have a new resurgence of energy with experts and others that want to come on board and offer their expertise and their specific skill set that's required to bring her home. And so we're encouraged by this. And so is there a pen we could drop her in tonight? No. But could one be readied quite quick? We believe so. But we would need to also, as Howie was saying, do the appropriate protocols to ready her for travel.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for sticking around and answering the Q&A. I know that there was a little bit of bouncing around here, and there was a lot to kind of read through and kind of even bring together. I know we wanted to wrap up with a music video. I'm not sure who was going to share that one.
I think Katie has it. And while she's sharing that, just thanks to everyone for being a part of this.
Aishka, Siam, much love.
Aishka,
Aishka.
thank you all.
Toki says thank you. Toki needs the last word to keep playing.
Cold are the currents we follow that lead to the coast. Steady the wind in the sails of the greedy man's boat. Breaking the waves on my back as they get me alone. They'll stop at nothing to take me from all that I've known. Let me go, let me go. sentence for a crime that I don't understand. Is a body in shape the definitive trait of a man? For I have a heart and a soul and a family. By the laws that you live by, doesn't that mean that I should be free? Run cold to the sea. This dream to be free keeps me up at night. I hear the voice of my mother ringing in my ears, and nobody else seems to notice. Such is the life of the blackfish. As I circle the drain, decades of waiting on a verdict that won't change the pain. 'Cause once you've known fear, that feeling cannot be erased. But in order to know that, you have to have been in my place. That I call home, back to the waters I know, where the waters run cold.
And that was the Derek Nelson family. There are two brothers and a sister who created this beautiful song. They're just wonderful people, and their hearts are in it. And I'm glad we are able to share that. Thank you for hanging in there, everyone. I know we're more than a half an hour over time. There's still almost 100 of you left. That's awesome. And it's all of you that keep us all going, and it's all of us together that keep Tokitae Scalicoctonot living and swimming her laps and staying in shape, getting ready to swim with her family when she returns. Howie, did you have a last few words to say?
Yeah, only to thank everybody for sticking through all this, and for our team for making it happen. The Zoom gods and internet for making most of it work. And for Susan for thinking of so many great ways to make this happen well, like Toki's own window there, and the slideshow during the Q&A, and in fact all the waterside ceremonies. So your creative genius strikes again. And thank you all who participated for being a part of this. I hope we all went away feeling enriched and more hopeful and informed, and it was certainly worth it for us. So thank you all.
Yes, and thank you to all our presenters and panelists and water ceremonialists from coast to coast. And again, to our very hardworking staff who have frantically been in the background, connecting all the dots and making it all work. So we hope to gather again soon, and that next time it will be her homecoming that we're celebrating. We will bring you home, Toki.
We will bring you home.
We will bring you home.
We will bring her home.
We will bring her home.
She's definitely coming home.
We're bringing you home, Toki.